I wanted to talk to you guys, ask you 3 questions, and you guys can pick the one. Hello?
Hello.
Yes. And you guys can pick the one that you find to be most juicy. They're not gotcha. They're very simple.
Okay.
The one is would you rather people be independent or dependent on the government? The second is, do you think that the Trump administration and Republicans generally don't want witnesses to be called in the impeachment trial? And the third is, would you prefer that people get in a position where they must contemplate an abortion or not get in that position in life? The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Blake. I would say that the question is silly. This is the first question. Do I want people independent or dependent of government? There is no one who lives in society that is independent of government. That is an impossibility. That's like saying, would you prefer people have can fly or not fly? Well, it doesn't matter because you know what? We don't have wings. The reality is, can you tell me a person who lives in this country who is independent of the government?
I know a couple, yes.
Who?
They, Al and Sheila, I'm not going to say their last name, but they're close friends of mine.
And
they live in northwestern Arkansas.
They do?
Yes.
And
they live out in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere?
They are completely solar. They have wells. Obviously,
where did they get the solar technology? Did they develop the solar technology?
No, they didn't.
What?
I knew this would happen, and what I wanted from you guys was just a very simple answer. It's a very simple question. Like I said, it wasn't a got you.
No, well, like I say, your question
obviously government exists.
Blake,
obviously government
are you married?
Exists, and it has done things.
Blake, are you married?
No.
You're not married?
No.
You have a girlfriend, boyfriend?
Yes, girlfriend.
When did you stop beating her? It's a simple question.
Sam,
just give me a date.
It's ridiculous.
Just give me a date. Simple question.
Jesus Christ.
All right, let me ask you this. I'll make it even simpler. Did you stop beating her?
Well,
Blake, this is a simple question.
Statement.
This is a question. Yeah. It's a simple question. Did you stop beating her?
You're assuming the presumption that I have before.
Okay. And now I think we've been able to illustrate my problem with your question, which is assumes that it's possible for people to live in this country when they're not in some fashion dependent upon government.
I didn't say it was possible or impossible. What I asked is,
I didn't say whether you had. I didn't say whether you had or had not beaten your girlfriend. I'm just asking if you stopped.
Like I said, that's a presumption. That's an assumption.
Right. Well,
that I did at one point.
That being independent of government is possible.
People have.
Yeah.
I can't even remember any of these, but it was fun. It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, there is. I have to say that, like, I feel like there are people who probably see this and say, well, look, it's a self-selected group of people who call into a show. And, but there is a quality about libertarians that I think, in my experience, is not just a function of people called into the show. I interviewed we know what would happen if, I interviewed, Block. I can't even remember the name. Yeah, Walter Block, who I was very nervous prior to interviewing him. Like, I was telling Michael, like, I gotta bone up on this stuff. This guy's a professor at I can't remember where he was at the time, but it was some like Koch endowed division of a school, but it was a legit school, and he was an advisor to Ron Paul, at least he claimed to be, and no reason to doubt him. And but across the board, they make these just sort of like assertions, or they are just caught up in honestly like the most basic of like logic games and stuff that you just get the sense that they've never been challenged by. It's every time I talk to a libertarian, it feels like, have you run this by anybody yet? Or you're just so convinced of what you're saying, and it doesn't feel like you have in any way had a conversation with someone who's inclined to disagree with what you're asserting.
Yeah, no, it is really interesting. Like at the end of the Evil Bernie clip we used as a cold open, like what you're going through is a really like basic, like actually two really basic objections to the idea that taxation is theft. Which like roughly, if all right, what does that mean, right? That like they say, oh, that it's theft, that you're taking something that people are entitled to. Well, entitled to in what sense? Can't mean legally entitled, because the IRS is legally entitled to that share of your income. It can mean, morally entitled, but then like that gets like pretty circular. Like you say, well, it's morally wrong to take what it's morally wrong to take. It's like, okay, but what's morally wrong to take? And then the other is whether, the other objection, that you're running at the end is that you like wouldn't like this wealth that you have to tax in the first place, wouldn't be generated in the first place if not for the existence of taxation, which is the point that you're making with the dependent or independent guy in the clip that we just watched in a different way. And and whatever. I mean, like I don't rule out that there could be libertarians, who have good answers, like somewhat plausible responses to these things. But it is remarkable how many of them don't see that coming, because those seem pretty basic.
Yeah, I find it stunning. It is just I am continually amazed by libertarians who get stumped as soon as they start to enter into the real world in some way. There's a big boy in the plastic bubble quality. And I do mean boy.
Yeah, no, definitely boy. There's a this is something that that does clearly appeal more to guys, and you could speculate about why that is.
Yeah.
But it is also just really interesting on a really basic level, because so many of these guys like really fetishize like the rhetorical aura of like logic and argumentation, and like that's very important to them. Like going back to like Ayn Rand and people like that, like they were so in love with the idea of that. But yeah, you do often get this sense that they're mostly used to talking to each other, that they, like people who maybe share certain like really basic, intuitions about, taxation being wrong and, and things like that. And oftentimes like just don't see it coming, like these sorts of basic replies, or maybe just kind of don't know like what people say who disagree with them about this.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, I think, for me, I'm not a terribly theoretical person. I mean, even in college, I didn't, my courses were not, we didn't have a political science major. We had a government major. And so it didn't mean anything to me at the time, really. I had nothing to compare it to, but my inclination is not to really get too caught up in the theoretical. I mean, that's that's always been my approach, for better or for worse. And so at least in these contexts, I feel like I have sort of an advantage, because they're talking in a theoretical level and I'm just talking in a sort of a more, I guess, present perspective.